I want to talk about Havertz, this signing where I think it's probably a very important signing for us that we just don't look at it the right way. I like Arteta's philosophy. Players like Havertz, Jesus, Declan Rice, with Ben White as well, Zinni, all these players that have Premier League experience, they don't need time to adapt. We can always look at a player like Pepe. We know how he was when he came in. Okay, I agree. He was very good on the ball, technically very good. But, oh my God, he wasn't good for us. More of a League One player, a free kick penalty merchant. But the most important thing, which I agree with Arteta, is Premier League experience. Let him hit the ground running. Declan Rice doesn't have to move country, doesn't have to even move city, can stay in London. This role with Havertz, I think it's very interesting because I don't see him playing in striker. What I see him as an 8. Realistically, I see him as an 8 or a 10. That's where I see him. So I think he will have that ability to be in either of these positions, and he could play behind Jesus. The one reason why I really like this though is that we can never play a 4-4-2, or we could, but it wasn't the same. But I think we went to 4-4-2 shapes before. But someone like Havertz, the reason why I like him now, I agree, he's not the goal threat he used to be. That's the only negative is Jesus and Havertz. Both of them are not clinical finishers. Personally, I'm a bit of an old school guy. You need a Van Persie, you need a Thierry Henry, you need an Aguero. You can only really get away with a false 9 if the players around are very good. I think Xhaka is not world class yet, but can be. Martinelli for sure is our best player in the entire season. He was basically 2v1ing the entire season on the left-hand side. Best player for me, when Zinni was inverting, he had to handle 2 players, whereas Ben White was overlapping into intricate play between him, Saka and Jesus. You can create a 3 versus 3 or even a 2 versus 2 here at least. But Martinelli was doing the main job by himself. So for me, Martinelli was our best player. And then we have Trossard. So the way that I look at it is that when we're playing, let's just put it like in a default system, we can press with a 4-4-2. Havertz is extremely good at pressing. But the reason why I say this works is because I think Havertz has that role where he can replace Xhaka. We'll go on to Xhaka in a second. But it's exposing the spaces basically in between the defence. So let's say these are the defenders. It's the kind of the half spaces in between is where I see Odegaard and Havertz running into, and that is why I really like this new system. Havertz isn't the clinical finisher that he was, otherwise he'd be one of the best strikers in Europe, but he has the ability to press very well, good link-up play, and he's got this uncanny ability to be able to be in spaces to create space for other players. And this is why I think of him like, okay, when I look at Ozil, I agree, he used to run sometimes he didn't. He was quite lazy on the ball, I agree sometimes. But he had this ability to create space for Sanchez, create space for other players to thrive, and also be able to pick out the ball for Theo Walcott. I see Havertz as this kind of player that he's not the best passers, don't get me wrong, but short passing, creating space for your team, and getting yourself into pockets of space is what's really, really key. I would have loved him to be alongside a proper real striker, but that is why I see Havertz in the advanced role. Now, will we get Timber here? I don't know. Hopefully we do. I'm not really a biggest fan of Tom. Yes, I know everyone else is. The issue I have here is squad depth. Xhaka needs to stay. We cannot let Xhaka go. The way that I see it, I mean, look, I don't know what goes on in the mind of Mikel Arteta, but I think the ability to play a 4-4-2 when we're losing and be able to press the ball, off the ball, pressure with all these 4 players is going to be unbelievable. I'll tell you one thing for a fact. I'll tell you in the future, prediction. This would be some of the best pressing front 4 you'll see in a very long time. And if Havertz can play in that midfield, he can press together in the 4-3-3 and then he can just join and combine with the press. That's why I like him. Yeah, Martinelli, Jesus, and then you have Saka all have very good work rates. The thing is, in my opinion, we need Xhaka here as a replacement. Smith Rowe, I don't think he can get the job done. This is the problem here. But I think if we had, for example, El Neni, we keep him. I think he can get the job here just in case. I wouldn't want to play Jorginho here. I think he's more of a pivot, or I would say more of a defensive player that can hold, good distribution, but he's not the kind of player you'll be playing at the back. Now we've got Declan Rice to fill in that role. I'll be honest, I still want to keep Partey. Partey. Oh, I said Partey, but we got spilling out, but I never liked him. I'll be honest. When he first came, when we played a back five, I never liked it because Ceballos and Elneny was in the middle. They played better. But after we went to a conventional back four and when players overlapping, that's when he excelled. I see Partey as that player where he performs some games, disappears in others. I would love him to be a rotational player. Will he accept that? That's another thing. I mean, we're no Man City. But if we had this, Smith Rowe, look, I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest of fans, but he can probably get the job done here. And then, of course, technically, you can also play Havertz here. And Nketiah's not good enough for Arsenal. I'm sorry. Let him go. Listen, he's a poacher. Last year, he got away with murder, if you're asking me. So many clean-cut chances that he missed. So many games. He should have put the games to bed. We are lucky that we won those games. If we didn't, we'll look back at those chances Nketiah missed. He's not stuck for Arsenal. You know, if this is like 2009 Arsenal where we're just trying to make top four and trying to make ends meet, okay, whatever. Not anymore. He's not good enough. Then, of course, you have Trossard over here, the squad depth over here. This is what I do like. I would like to see maybe another winger like Zaha. That's probably going to be very, very unlikely. But the good thing is you have those kind of, in fact, all these players here, Havertz, Martinelli, Trossard, and Xhaka can all play. And worst case scenario, you can play someone else there. You know, you can even drop in a Nelson. Not the best of players in that situation, but they can maybe get the job done. Maybe. Or maybe just put Havertz in the middle and just move some players around. So those players can definitely get the job done. The only thing that I'm worried about here is goalkeeper's fine. I think number one goalkeeper, keep him the entire time. I'm not sure worried about this because Ben White can play centre back and so can Timber. So if we need Timber, so Timber is the next article that we need. Declan Rice, we need these two players in. Then the only thing I would say is then that way we can keep Tomiyasu. If we can sell Tierney, take him for 30, then it is what it is. We can sell him and we can take it. But I think this would be an exceptional lineup. This is the first time I'm really looking forward to the season. Last season I looked forward to it as well, like I really did. But this year I'm really looking forward to it. This is the last time I can remember. This is like when Sanchez and Ozil were at Arsenal. It was an amazing. Just finally, I want to say just one thing. Like if this was me, how I would line this up. I mean, listen. I am definitely no Arteta, but I see this two ways. If I see one of the ways is like this. I see one of the ways like in a 4-3-3. This is what I think Arteta will do. Sorry, 3-4-4 diamond. I think this is a really nice setup. I think for the way that Arteta plays, because you can have the players that are running through the half spaces, but then you also have Havertz that can just do a bit of the roaming around. He can pick up into space, kind of has that freedom of being into spaces, can exploit into spaces, can play alongside the striker. If Odegaard wants to go into the middle, you can play like these two like that. I think that's where I like to see the team kind of evolve. And of course, I think realistically, this is the other option is where Havertz will play there. And let's say, for example, if we do go forward, you have Ben White overlapping, Zinni will invert, and it'll be something like this is something also I'm looking at as well. I think that is a pretty nice system. Martinelli, I think he does such a good job by himself, such an underrated player. Or of course you have the more obvious choices as well with the setup as well. But yeah, it's gonna be some sort of that. Or the second thing I see is a 4-4-2. I mean, this is where I'm thinking. This is where I'm thinking like realistically something like this. 4-4-2 like this. I think that's a really, really good one. Or the second thing is I see him maybe playing Jesus, or maybe it's intertwine in game and playing Havertz behind the striker. So I think when you have that freedom, I've always said in football, the key thing is having a player that can play multiple positions. I think it's the future, really. I think eventually you're going to see everyone that can play. Like, you know, when you're a kid, you play every position. It's kind of be like that. But that's just kind of my take on the situation. I'm very happy with Havertz's decision. Is he worth 60 million? I mean, he's young. I think there's still value in him. We can still sell him at his peak as well. I'm just going to double check his age. I think he's Double check. I think he's 24, isn't he? Unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, he's 24 and his birthday's just gone. So realistically, we can always sell him again in 4 years' time. Worst case scenario. But I think it's a very good deal in my opinion. I don't think there's anything else we need to improve here. I mean, if it was up to me, I would get another world-class striker, but that's out the window. If we could just sell it, I'll say the players that can go, in my opinion, Nketiah can go, Rob Holding can go. He's just... people saying he did well. I don't know what they've been watching. The Liverpool game, they said he played well. Gave the ball away. Salah almost scored. Some terrible defensive mistakes. Absolutely not. I mean, I think Partey recovered for him, or whatever it was. I can't remember. In the other game. And even the Liverpool game, he lost the ball in the midfield. Someone recovered for him as well. And yeah. I mean, I think that's really much it. I mean, I just worry about another player in midfield. I mean, if Xhaka goes, I mean, we need another player realistically here. That's the only thing that I say. Another centre mid, another wing. If I had the choice, another winger, another centre mid. But there's not that many options on the market that can play those roles very well, especially that centre mid that can play. Well, it's not really a centre mid, but someone that can play the ball and also play as an 8 and also move the ball forward. But Havertz can do that role. I don't see him as a striker. I see him as where Xhaka is. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. That's just kind of my thoughts. You know, who knows? Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, or maybe I'm some tactical genius. Only time can tell. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time.